Look how dreamy Sean Bean is. Hello everyone, welcome back to Too Sweet MTG. Welcome to another Commander video. In today's episode, we're going to be going over a deck I've gone out and built myself. Today, we're going to be talking about Boromir, Gondor's Hope. So here's the deck list. Obviously, I'll put a link to it down in the description below. Let's talk about Boromir, Gondor's Hope. Boromir is 2 a white and a blue for a 3/4 legendary creature human warrior. It has whenever Boromir, Gondor's Hope enters the battlefield or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a human or artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think Boromir is a very cool and interesting commander. Firstly, it's basically repeatable card draw. All we need to do is fill the deck up with humans and artifacts, and we're going to be getting a bunch of value with Boromir. The other thing as well is I haven't really seen anyone build a deck with Boromir. I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's definitely got some opportunity for me to build something interesting. I like humans, I like artifacts, let's do something cool. There are a couple of other reasons why I built this deck. First and foremost amongst them is that I don't actually have a commander deck from the Lord of the Rings set. I never actually bought any of the precons for that, and it's one of my favourite sets of all time. I love Lord of the Rings, I want a commander from it. The second thing is I also wanted to try and build a commander that wasn't super broken. My goal for this deck is that the power level is basically going to be like an upgraded precon. I want a deck that I can always have access to, I can always play no matter what the table is. And Boromir seems perfect for that. The other thing as well I wanted to try with this deck is to use the set skeleton from Game Nights. I recently released a video where I went over some tips and tricks of some things I learnt when playing Commander. One of the things I talked about was set skeletons. Basically, it's a rough guide for the number of different things that you need to make a deck work. Like how much card draw to run, how much interaction to run, how much ramp, how many lands, that kind of thing. I've had mine pretty much in place for quite a while now. And while it's pretty similar, there are some minor differences to what the Command Zone use for their decks. When it comes to Game Nights, however, those decks are very different. In those decks, they're running 12 to 14 bits of ramp, 12 to 14 bits of card draw, 10 to 12 bits of interaction. That is much higher than a regular deck because it kind of needs to be played for camera. For those unaware, we do gameplay on this channel. So basically, I wanted to build a deck with the Game Night skeleton in mind to see how it plays, to see if it led to more interesting and interactive games, so that when we feel gameplay, we can have better decks for camera. The other reason I want to build this deck is because I made this sick altar. Look how dreamy Sean Bean is. Tell me you don't want to see that in the Command Zone. With all that being said, let's go over the deck. So the general plan with Boromir is to build a wide board state of humans. We'll use some effects to buff up those humans and we'll turn them sideways to win the game. In terms of things specifically we're looking out for, we're generally looking for effects to be on either humans or artifacts. I think Boromir is actually a pretty good value engine. And if we fill the deck with humans and artifacts, we're definitely going to be finding some cool things that we want. That means we're going to want humans and artifacts in all of our sections. We're going to want card draw on humans and artifacts. We're going to want ramp on humans and artifacts. We're going to want interaction on humans and artifacts where possible. And then because Boromir famously doesn't get to the end of Lord of the Rings, spoilers, I guess? We're also going to want some ways of protecting Boromir. He is only a 3/4. We want to be attacking with him every turn. We need ways of making sure he's going to survive through combat. Sean Bean is not dying in this game. So firstly, let's start with our card draw section. Again, in normal decks, I tend to run somewhere between 8 and 10. But because we're going for the Game Nights-y kind of build, we've ramped this right up to 14. In terms of humans first that I thought were cool, we're running Novice Inspector and 3-Man Inspector. These are great cheap little bodies that come in, make us an artifact. We can then crack that clue to draw us a card. They also synergize quite nicely with Alquist Proft, Master Sleuth. This lets us sack clues to draw cards and gain us some life. For some other cool card drawy humans, we have Mangara the Diplomat. I think it's just a very solid card. It's got nice and cheap, so I thought I'd include it. Mangara is kind of the fair white Ristic study. No one's really going to get annoyed with it, basically. We then have a card like Minas Tirith Garrison. This does require us to have a large board state of humans, but when we do, this will draw us a bunch of cards. In a similar vein to that, we have Distant Melody, great in any type or matter deck that's running blue. And we have the cheaper version in the humans deck, we have Mass Appeal. Both of those are just going to draw us an absolute bucket load of cards. For other humans, we have cards like Faramir, Steward of Gondor, and Archivist of Gondor. These introduce the monarchy to the game. Now personally, I really like the monarchy in Commander, and also a bunch of the Lord of the Rings cards that were printed also care about the monarchy. So in order to use as many Lord of the Rings cards as possible, it meant including some monarchy cards. I personally really like them. You okay? You alright? Good girl. Want to say hello? YouTube, Miri, YouTube. Yes, you are the best. Then to top up our card draw, we have some instants and sorceries, things like Preordain, Serum Visions, Charter Course, Faithful Mending, and Thirst for Knowledge. These are all just pretty solid cards. They're kind of quite easy includes to make. And again, normally I would not be running anywhere near this amount of card draw. But I do love drawing cards, so I'm interested to see how it works. You're going. Oh, I'm saying hello. Goodbye. The next thing I want to go over is our ramp. Let's go up to there next. Again, 14 I do feel is very high, especially in this deck where we kind of actually curve out at 5. There might be like 1 6-drop, something like that. Stuff like Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Azorius Signet, Liquid Metal Torque, Marble Diamond, Mindstone, Ornithopter of Paradise, and Sky Diamond are all pretty solid and all pretty generic, if I'm honest with you. I haven't got any hot takes on 2-mana rocks apart from that they're good. Because Boromir wants us to be attacking, I've also included Sword of the Animist and Sword of Hearth and Home. We're going to be attacking in this deck. It's how we're going to be killing people. It's how we get value off of our commander. We might as well get some ramp in there as well. The Sword of Hearth and Home, also flickering Boromir, could also be quite nice. Because importantly, Boromir is an ETB effect. There is some other flicker in the deck we'll get onto in a minute. We have a card like Herald's Horn that is a bit of card advantage and a bit of ramp. Going to make all of our humans cost 1 less, and there are a lot of humans in this deck, so it should do a fair bit of work. But Verge Rangers, Keeper of the Accord, and Scholarship Sponsor all basically let us ramp if people have more lands in play than us. We're an Azorius deck. It's pretty much guaranteed an opponent's going to have more lands than us. Someone will be playing green, someone will cast a Rampant Growth. I think these are solid. They just basically guarantee we're going to be hitting our land drops and keeping up with everyone else. They're all also humans, so we can hit them off of Boromir when it enters play. Moving on, let's touch on our interaction section. And again, this is higher than I would normally run. But actually, I think it still might be 1 less than what Game Nights would recommend. I'm normally somewhere between 8 and 10. This is 11. We have our just generally good instant speed interaction. We have Condemn, Swords to Plowshares, Fateful Absence, and Unexpectedly Absent. We're running Westfold Rider primarily because it's a Lord of the Rings card. Same with Banishing Light. It has artwork in Lord of the Rings. I do kind of want to keep it thematic a little bit. Those could easily be higher powered spells or more efficient spells, but I like the Lord of the Rings art. We're going to give them a go. Theming to the deck is important too. We have Lorn of the Third Path as another way of answering artifacts and enchantments, while also giving us a bit of bonus card draw. Palace Jailer is just solid, and again, we are doing a bit of monarchy stuff in here, so I think it gets in. Similarly, we also have Fealty to the Realm. This is basically a removal spell, in that the creature we enchant can never come at us. Yes, it's not great with activated abilities, but if there's just some big beefy thing on the battlefield we need to answer, this will do it. For board wipes, we have Fell the Mighty and Fumigate. These could both be higher powered level options if I had any spares. Can't find my Wrath of Gods right now. And Fell the Mighty does have the Lord of the Rings art. Again, I'm leaning into that a little bit with the deck. Our next section I'm going to go over is Protection. This is one specifically for this deck I have had to make bigger. We want Boromir to be attacking every turn so we repeatedly get that card value from it. However, it doesn't have any evasion or anything like that. So we're running a bunch of spells to help protect it in combat. And to make sure Sean Bean doesn't die in this. That's very important too. So we've got some questionable humans in here. We have Devoted Caretaker, which can give Boromir protection from instant and sorcery spells, great at dodging some targeted removal, that kind of stuff. We have Mother of Runes, which can protect it from removal or get it through for some combat damage against like a mono-colored player. That would be really cool. We have Frontline Medic, Goldbug, Humanity's Ally, Oris, Samite Guardian, which is definitely a questionable include, but I'm kind of here for it, and Selfless Squire. These effectively in some way prevent our creatures from taking combat damage in a turn. Perfect for Boromir, perfect for just getting us some extra value and making sure he survives through combat. We also have the pretty standard Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves. These will let Boromir and any other big creature get in the turn it comes down, while also protecting it from targeted removal. We love that. We then have Sigiri's Step, which is basically free to run because it's on a land, gives a creature protection from a colour of our choice. Pretty solid there. Before we get on to our win cons, I do want to touch on this little flicker package that we have. This could definitely be bigger, but we're running Slip on the Ring, Eerie Interlude, Gilrain Dundean Protector, and Conjurer's Closet. Basically, these all let us flicker our commander in some way. Slip on the Ring and Eerie Interlude are also some nice protection for Boromir for any targeted removal. But basically with any of these, if we flicker Boromir, we get the ETB effect again, and we get to search through 6 more cards for something else that we want. It's all just additional card value. I think it's pretty solid. Moving on to our win cons then finally, and these kind of all fall into a couple of different buckets. Cards like Coppercoat Vanguard, Intrepid Adversary, Achroma's Will, Greymond Avacyn Stewart, Marshal's Anthem, and Coat of Arms are all in here to make our humans absolutely huge. You may have noticed we don't have a dedicated human section, as it were, because there's humans all throughout the deck. These big buff effects basically help us win the game. And again, with these, I've tried to keep them on artifacts or humans where possible. Martial Anthem is the outsider there, it's an enchantment, but it has Lord of the Rings art. Again, I am trying to make that part of the deck. But either way, all of them can make our board a lethal threat. It's a great way of winning a game of Magic. It's always pretty solid. When we have all those Anthem effects, the next thing we want to do is make more humans. To help buff up the number of humans that we have, we're also running cards like Visions of Glory, thing that actually has Boromir on the art there. But to make us even more of a board state, we're also running cards like Lossarnach Captain, and cards like Horn of Gondor, pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with the human count in this deck, but these will just take it to the next level, make our board state all the scarier. Our land section is pretty standard if I'm honest with you. A lot of this is just your standard like Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, that kind of thing. Combined with some budget jewels, and like type-specific lands, things like Secluded Courtyard, that basically says for mana when we're casting humans. The main thing I did to make the deck a bit smoother is I included the artifact lands. These, importantly, we can get from Boromir's ETB. So being able to hit lands so we can constantly hit our land drops is going to be really important, and I think that's going to be a really cool thing the deck can do. But yeah, that's my Sean Bean Boromir deck. Numbers-wise, this is pretty different to any deck I've ever built, but I'm really interested to see how it works. There's so much more card draw and so much more ramp in here than I would put in a regular deck. I do like drawing cards, I do like playing spells. Maybe this needs a few more X spells to take advantage of that, I'm not really sure. But if you want to see this deck in action in a future video, you need to subscribe to the channel so you get notified when that video comes out. Also, let me know down in the comments if there's any changes you would make to the deck. Are there any cards that I've missed? What do you think of Boromir Gondor's Hope as a commander? There is potentially like a go-wide artifact deck I could build with this, but all those cards are currently in my cube, so we went with humans, and I think the humans deck is pretty cool. But anyway, until next time, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye.